Silence isn't neutral. The silence that you're experiencing, it carries its own weight, and you're not imagining that. Welcome back to the Human Well podcast. My name is Amber Cabral. This is the week of September 15th, 2025, and this episode is going to be a short one. The last few days, starting last week, really, have just been very, very complicated news days. Things I have never seen in my lifetime, things that I just never thought were even reasonable to occur are happening and happening very fast. And I try really hard to make sure that this podcast is focused on how you human better instead of the heaviness of the news, because carrying around that heaviness really does a lot of terrible things to our well-being. And being well is the only way we're ever going to get through any kind of difficult time, because there are going to be windows of time where you won't be able to make the level of investment in your wellness that you really want to. And so we got to try to do that as much as we can before things just get to that point. So I'm not going to go into grave detail about the news. I also think we are in a season where going into grave detail has had some very, very, very odd impacts on some very visible people and some not so visible people. And so I'm not interested in creating that kind of tension with this podcast, but I do want to make sure that I share a few things to help you with this week, and that I have also been doing to help myself through this week and last week. The world is loud right now. It's not just loud in the United States, it's loud everywhere. But in some places, especially at work, it's gotten kind of quiet, like almost eerily quiet. And it's not because people don't have opinions or feelings, or they're not like navigating the complexity of the moment. It's because people are scared. A lot of people are scared. And while I'm not actually physically in a workplace in the moment, I definitely feel the tension of this current moment vibrating all around me. And I'm navigating my own version of that fallout of this moment. And let's be real. Silence isn't neutral. The silence that you're experiencing, it carries its own weight, and you're not imagining that, right? So it is possible that you are feeling any number of things: the fear of saying the wrong thing, the fear of being misunderstood or labeled, the fear of losing opportunities or jobs, the fear of how people are connecting with one another, the fear of being in, public places in certain communities. It's a lot to be afraid of, and all of those fears are valid. And times are very, very strange right now. And I think they're going to be strange for the foreseeable future. So in this episode, I just wanted to do two main things. The first is I want to encourage you to go back and listen to the Stay Ready capsule series. I've kind of been talking about that things were going to be weird, and things were, weird was coming for a while. And it's kind of what I really wanted to make sure this podcast was doing in terms of resource. I wanted to make sure that people had a place to go to get grounded, to get what they needed to be okay, and understand how much of okay is accessible to you and how you take care of yourself. And so I want to encourage you to go back and re-listen to that series. The Stay Ready capsule series is basically episodes 14, 15, 16, and 17. So if you just go in your podcast feed, you can find those. They all have Stay Ready at the front of the title. Or if you go on YouTube, there's a playlist that's created with the episodes in there. So if you're listening on XM, or you're listening on Apple, or you're listening on another podcast service, Spotify, wherever, you can just go to those episodes that Stay Ready, or go to episode 14 through 17, or go to the playlist that's on YouTube. But go back and play those and do the stuff. Make time to do the stuff. Sometimes I know people listen to this podcast and it feels good in the moment, but we don't make the time. Make the time. If it's 20 minutes, if it's 30 minutes, if it's 15 minutes, make the time, because wellness right now is really critical, because we are navigating a lot of uncertainty, and that's just really hard on our resilience. The second thing that I wanted to say in this podcast is please do not hold in what you are feeling. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to scream, scream. But anxiety, it destroys us. And if you are using ChatGPT for therapy or support, I want to encourage you to find some safer outlets. The thing I mostly want is for you to not try to hold it in. Safe outlets right now probably feel really complicated. So I'm going to make a couple suggestions of things that I've been doing that work well for me. Journaling. It's cheap. You get a notebook and a pen. In the current moment, most of us have access to that. So like journal what you want to say, journal out the frustration, journal out, the emotions that you are carrying around, because what we don't want is more high anxiety folks engaging in the current moment. It's just going to set what is already a very high pressure situation ablaze. And we just don't need that. Second thing that I think you can do is talk with someone that is a trusted friend, ideally someone that is not at your job. Work is a precarious situation for a lot of us right now. Find somebody that you can talk to. Ask them, hey, do you have space for me to vent? And when they say yes, let it out. Don't walk around with it, but make sure if you're going to talk to somebody, it's somebody that you trust, ideally not someone at your job. And also, please, please, please make sure, okay, that when you are having conversations with someone, you are doing so in a space that is safe too. I don't know about the dinner cross table talk, things are just very strange. And so protect yourself, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed and frustrated and need to let that out. The third thing you can do is move your body. Walking. If you can walk around, do that. If you can't walk around for whatever reason, what does movement look like for you? Shake off the held energy. Okay. Movement is great for that. Whatever variety of movement works best for you. If it's swimming, if it's skating, if it's jogging, if it's walking, if it's, sitting in your chair and doing some, arm exercises, let's do some meaningful movement to help dispel some of the frustration that we're carrying. And then, the last one, find a creative outlet. I'm currently in the midst of embracing some interesting creative outlets right now. I always recommend Legos. I have a Lego addiction probably, but it could be anything. It could be reading. It could be painting. It could be, calligraphy is fun for some folks. It's also something that gets that mind-body connection going, and that really helps us to be able to navigate like just when things are kind of high stress. The way I want you to think about finding, a safe space to let it out is just ask yourself the question, where can I release what I can't say out loud? Where can I release that? Okay. Sometimes I, do calligraphy with curse words. Some of the curse words have cool letters to write in calligraphy anyway. So if that's, that's a pretty reasonably priced activity that you can do. And you can do it with brush pens or calligraphy pens. Whatever. But the point is, think about where you can release what you can't say. Holding it in isn't ideal. And we are in for a ride. Like no one knows what this looks like, what it's going to be. We're dealing with a lot of, hot-headedness and irrationality. And if you're not feeling it right now, likely someone around you is. And so I just want us to be thoughtful about how we're showing up and making sure that we're taking care of ourselves in the spaces that we're navigating. By the way, you're not weak for choosing to survive right now. Like if you're like, yo, I can't say anything. I don't feel like I can speak up. I'm navigating a workplace that doesn't feel safe. You're not weak for just like surviving. Like folks need their paychecks. Folks need their income for a variety of reasons. And so there's nothing wrong with you if that's all you're doing. But I also want you to remember that silence doesn't erase you. You still have a voice. You still matter. And a part of humaning well is learning where, when, and how to use that voice wisely. And we are in a place where that takes a little figuring out. That's the episode. It's short. I really just want to affirm people and give folks some tools. I think for the next episodes, we're going to start a capsule series where we're going to talk about how to show up in spaces when you have to be present, when presence feels impossible or difficult, how to kind of protect your energy. So I'm working through what that capsule looks like because I want to make sure that I'm giving you things that will help you. And I am also testing. By trying things myself before I share them with you as things to do. So I'm being thoughtful about this next series because I want to make sure that everyone that is listening to this podcast feels supported. So thanks for tuning in. Go back, please listen to those episodes, the Stay Ready capsule, super helpful. Lots of good meaty information in there. Lots of things that are timely for this moment. And I'll see you next week.